The cafe went silent the moment the slap echoed through the room. Coffee cups froze halfway to lips. Conversations died mid-sentence. A spoon clattered against a saucer as everyone turned to look. In the middle of the small neighborhood cafe, a large angry man stood over a quiet single father who had just been struck across the face. The father didn't fall. He didn't even step back. But the sting of humiliation hung heavy in the air. A little girl sitting at the corner table gasped softly and grabbed her father's sleeve, her small fingers trembling. The man she held onto was the same one who had just been slapped. His name was Daniel Carter, and in that moment he looked like nothing more than a tired single dad trying to drink his morning coffee. But the bully standing in front of him had no idea who he had just touched. Before we continue this story, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe the world needs more kindness, understanding, and second chances, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach people who truly need them. Daniel Carter had come to the cafe every morning for nearly a year. The staff knew him as the quiet man who ordered black coffee and oatmeal while helping his daughter with her school homework. His daughter, Lily, was 8 years old, bright-eyed, and carried the kind of innocent joy that could light up any room. But behind Daniel's calm presence was a life few people knew about. 5 years earlier, Daniel had been part of an elite military unit, one of the most highly trained forces in the world. Missions that required silence, precision, and courage had once defined his days. But war had taken more from him than it had given. It had taken friends, sleep, and eventually his marriage. When Lily's mother passed away from illness 2 years earlier, Daniel made the only choice that mattered. He walked away from everything. No more missions, no more combat, just fatherhood. Life became about school lunches, bedtime stories, and finding peace in ordinary moments. The cafe became their little routine, a safe place before Lily's school day began. Until that morning, the man who slapped Daniel was known around the neighborhood for his temper. His name was Victor Hale, a broad-shouldered man who enjoyed reminding people how strong he was. That morning, Victor had been angry about a spilled drink and decided to blame the quiet man sitting nearby. Daniel had tried to ignore him, but Victor wanted attention. The slap was meant to humiliate him. For a moment, Daniel simply stood there, his hand resting protectively on Lily's shoulder. The cafe expected anger, they expected retaliation, but Daniel did something unexpected. He stayed calm. His eyes met Victor's, not with fear, but with a quiet patience that unsettled the room. Years of discipline lived in that stillness. Victor misread the silence as weakness. He stepped forward again, puffing out his chest, ready to continue his performance in front of the crowd. What happened next unfolded so quickly that several people later said they barely understood what they had seen. Victor raised his hand again, but before the second slap could land, Daniel moved. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't violent, it was controlled, precise, and effortless. In a single motion, Daniel gently redirected Victor's arm, shifted his balance, and within seconds, the much larger man found himself pinned against a nearby table, unable to move. Gasps rippled across the cafe. Victor struggled, shocked that the quiet father had neutralized him so easily. Daniel didn't strike him back. He didn't even raise his voice. He simply held him there long enough for Victor to understand something important, that strength didn't always look loud. People noticed something then. The small black lettering on Daniel's sleeve that had been hidden before. Delta Force. The realization spread like a whisper through the room. Victor saw it too, and suddenly the anger in his eyes turned into something else entirely. Fear. But Daniel didn't humiliate him the way Victor had tried to humiliate him. Instead, he slowly released his grip and stepped back, returning to Lily's side as if nothing extraordinary had happened. The cafe remained silent. Daniel picked up his coffee again, his movements calm, almost routine. Lily looked up at him, with the quiet trust only a child can have in a parent who makes the world feel safe. Victor stood frozen for a moment, rubbing his arm, his confidence shattered. But what happened next surprised everyone. Instead of storming out, Victor looked around the cafe at the faces staring back at him, faces that now saw him not as strong, but as small. And for the first time that morning, Victor seemed to feel something heavier than anger: shame. Daniel didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Sometimes dignity speaks louder than revenge. Victor slowly walked toward the door, stopping briefly before leaving. For a second, it looked like he might say something, an apology perhaps, but the words never came. Instead, he lowered his head and stepped outside into the quiet street. Inside the cafe, the tension finally broke. People began breathing again. The barista approached Daniel with a fresh cup of coffee, this one on the house, not because he was a hero, but because everyone in that room had witnessed something rare. A man strong enough to fight, but wise enough not to. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness is still powerful, and subscribe for more meaningful stories. And before we end, I have a small request for you. Comment the word respect below if you believe real strength is shown through patience, not anger. That morning in the cafe, Daniel Carter didn't prove he was the strongest man in the room. He proved something far more powerful, that sometimes the greatest warriors are the ones who choose peace for the sake of the little hands holding onto their sleeves.